Hi friends! Welcome back to SavanKnits, a knitting podcast where I talk about my knitting projects and plans for the future. And if you're new here, thank you for being here. This is only my second podcast episode, so I'm just really glad that you're here. Today I have one finished object and I have a couple of projects that I'm working on and one new yarn skein to show you and a new project bag. So if that sounds exciting, then stick around and let's get started. Before we get started, I want to talk about what I'm wearing. This is my Pillars of Simplicity by Perfectly Knotted. Claire Jackson is what her name is, I believe. And this is knit in Capella Luna fibers in her DK base in the colorway Hollywood Theater. I was obsessed with Capella Luna's Pacific Northwest collection. Every single colorway was amazing. So this is one, and then I got a green one and a green tonal and a green variegated. So pretty, love it. This is one of my most worn tees in this summer, even though it is in wool. I will suffer to wear this tee in the summer because I love it so much. The yarn is so soft. I love knitting with variegated yarn. I find it very engaging and beautiful when it's knit up. So yeah, one of my favorite projects ever. And the pattern is phenomenal. I am a big fan of Claire Jackson's patterns. She makes sure that it really fits your body, really clear in how she writes things out in the pattern, really easy to follow. So I had a good time making this and have a good time wearing it. My finished object this week is my Sydänmaa mittens by Hannah Levenimi, I think is how you say her name. They are beautiful. My first time ever doing mittens, and I've always wondered how they work, like how you knit them up. So I would say the biggest technique that I learned in this one was how to do mittens. I knit these up in a Aran weight yarn from Denmark that my parents brought back when they went to Denmark a couple years ago. Here's the label for the yarn. As I said last time, this is in Danish, so I'm not going to say it. And it is a rough wool. It's not treated, I'm pretty sure it's natural, like undyed, just basically feels like very natural rough yarn. So I think it's perfect for mittens because I'm not gonna wear this in a hat or a sweater as much because it would be too rough on my skin for my preference. But in mittens, perfection. They will keep me so toasty warm because my boys love to play in the snow. So very excited to get a lot of wear out of these. I started these on August 4th and finished on August 8th, so very quick project. I knit these mostly while watching the last week of the Olympics. So I have that to associate these two. I don't know if you guys have this, but I feel like when I'm knitting on a project and watching something specific, I start to associate that project with whatever I'm watching. So these will be my Olympic mittens, which I'm happy about because it's fun, but it's kind of ironic that I'll be thinking of track and field athletes competing in hot Paris weather while wearing these very toasty warm wool mittens. But I think it's fun. And I spent $0 on all of this because the yarn was gifted and the pattern was free. So highly recommend this pattern if you're looking to make some mittens of your own. Very clear, very beautiful. The cables aren't too bad at all. I don't love doing cables, but I like the cables if I can do them without a cable needle. There's some tutorials for that. Just putting the stitches in a different order on your needle and then knitting them up, so I don't have to use a cable needle. highly recommend that. So they really weren't too bad, and the pattern is very easy to memorize, so I didn't have to look at a chart for a very long time. So very happy with this finished object. Let's talk about 2 whips that I have. I am still working on the my basic socks, but I finished one of them. Here it is. The yarn is Lovejoy Fibers and Waffle Cone, and I've already made a pair of socks from this yarn, but I had half a ball left, so I was gonna see if I could get another pair out of it, and I couldn't. I stopped when my ball hit 25 grams because I need those 25 grams for the next sock. But I found this cream color in my stash, and I think it paired perfectly with doing a different color toe. This is my first time doing a different color toe in a sock, and I am really a fan of how it looks, and it was pretty easy to do. I don't know why I had such a mental block over like changing colors in the middle of a sock, but conquered that this week. I think this is a sock yarn. I looked online to see if I could figure out what this mystery skein was, and here, I'll show it up closer. I bought it when I first started learning how to knit, and so it is Yarn Bee Green Thumb. It was a collection of, I think, 25 gram minis. I'm not sure, but they had a whole bunch of colors patterned after Green Thumb. So they had like a green and orange and brown and cream, and I think even like a mustard yellow. Anyways, it is an acrylic, wool, and nylon blend. And I could tell it was acrylic because this ball was like a tangled mess, and so I wound it up on my what's it called? The yarn winder, I guess. The ball winder. And the static from the acrylic yarn was creating electric shocks as I'm like winding it up. So it kept sending these electric shocks to my fingers, and it felt like, you guys know on the movie Elf when he's like rounding up the Jack-in-the-Box and he's like so scared for it to pop out? That's how I felt winding this yarn. I was doing it as slow and as careful as I could, but I was still getting shocked every couple seconds. So that was a joy to wind up, let me tell you. But it's done now. Unfortunately, I have a lot of other mini skeins in this base, so that will not be the end of the electric shock, unfortunately. Here's my second second sock. It's got a tiny, tiny little cuff. I'm gonna do a 1-inch cuff with 2x2 rib, and then I think a 2-inch leg total. So then 1 inch of just stockinette. I don't know. Does that look like 2 inches? I'm really bad at knowing how many inches I've knit. I'll knit a little bit and I'll look at it and be like, that is definitely 4 inches. And I measure it and it's like 2 inches. I'm not very good at estimating that. So, yep. These are my current work in progress. Just basic socks with a size 1 needle. Also, last time I was talking about trying to find a sock size that fits me perfectly. This is it, people. This is it. I tried it on. It fits perfectly. I'm so happy. I feel like I lost my sock mojo for a while because I was so frustrated that I wasn't making socks that fit me very well. And now the mojo is back because I found the recipe that is perfect. So it is indeed a size large with my tighter gauge with just knitting socks over time. So size large, which is 72 cast on, and turned out perfectly. So I can't wait to finish these and then get to my next socks. I started these on July 17th, so they have been on my needles for 26 days, which is a long time for me to do socks, but again, lost my sock mojo for a while. Hopefully I can finish these up quickly. Also, because this is the last month of summer sock camp hosted by the Crazy Sock Lady, and I have a self-imposed deadline to finish these before the end of that camp, which ends this month. So fingers crossed that I can finish those sooner rather than later. My next whip is, I'm really excited about it. This is the Courage Henley by Tori Yu. I have been working on it quite a lot. It looks kind of funky right now because it's on my needles and has some tubing where the saddle shoulders are and everything. So it's Courage Henley by Tori Yu, test knit. I think it will come out in October. That's when the test knit is due. So I'll definitely post all the information when we get to that point. I am knitting it on Cascade 220 worsted in doeskin heather. I love heather yarns. I'm assuming heather means that they have kind of multiple colors in a strand, or just like kind of depth of color, and I definitely see that here. It's not just a flat brown, it's kind of a lighter, more nuanced brown. I am discovering that I truly love Cascade 220. Does it pill a little bit? Yes, but also is it a good price? Yes. I love knitting for Olive, but I don't know if I can afford knitting for Olive for all of my sweaters. And I love the smell of Cascade 220, like just their yarns. It just has that like raw wool smell, and I used to not like that smell. I remember the first time that I got Cascade 220, I smelled it and I was like, this smells like my grandma's house, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Like it smells like her basement, where I'm assuming there might be wool down there. I don't know. But the more I work with it, the more it becomes a nostalgic smell for me, a wonderful, cozy smell. So I love it. And the yarn is just super lovely to work with. It's very, I don't know how to describe it. It just feels, maybe it just feels nostalgic because I've worked on it a lot in the past 2 years that I've been knitting. So, and I love all the colors that it comes in, that it's widely available, all of those good things. So I'm enjoying knitting it in that. Let me talk a little bit about the construction of this Henley. This is my first time doing a Henley sweater, and definitely first time doing a saddle shoulder construction with a Henley. I've done a saddle shoulder construction in my Skyline tee, also by Tori Yu, but I haven't done it in a sweater before or with a Henley. So I thought it was interesting that you knit these shoulder panels first, just separately. So you knit one, and you knit the other, and then for the back you pick up stitches along this line right here, and then you cast on stitches for the back neck, and then you pick up stitches on the other side of the shoulder. And then you work some short rows, shaping, and then just some stockinette until you get to the underarm. And then you break that yarn, come to the front, pick up stitches right here, work this panel, the front panel, and then you do the same thing on the other side, pick up stitches, work the front panel, and then eventually you join in the round, and it makes this kind of V part of it. I am now in the round, so it is just easy knitting from here. I also wanted to show you my beautiful stitch marker that I got at a yarn store near me from Harmony. Very beautiful. I don't know who made it because they just had a little tub of stitch markers that you could pick out. So, but it is very beautiful. I love sunflowers. I live in an area where they just pop up everywhere like crazy in August and September, and it's one of my favorite months to do walks or runs because I can just see sunflowers popping up everywhere. So very perfect stitch marker for right now. I started this on August 8th, so it's been on my needles for 5 days, and it was a knitting week. I had a lot of time to knit. we had a easy weekend where we didn't really have any plans, and then one of my kids got the stomach flu yesterday and is still recovering today. So it was a lot of, sitting with him and watching a lot of movies and being able to knit a lot. So this is not normal. I feel like I remember when I was wanting to start a knitting podcast, I was thinking about how if I'm a slow knitter or a fast knitter compared to other people that I watch, and I feel like I was a slow knitter, and then I started a podcast, and then suddenly I had so much time to knit, and maybe it's because I'm making time for myself to knit because I'm excited about having a podcast, excited about talking with you guys about my knitting projects, and maybe I've just manifested more knitting time into my week. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not mad about it. I'm very happy with all this knitting time that I'm getting, but I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think I'll be able to do this much all the time. I should mention that I am knitting a size 4. I think that makes it a 47 or 48 inch circumference, and I'm a 43 inch bust, so I've got some good positive ease on there, and it's knitted in 5mm needles, worsted weight yarn, and the fabric is more dense than I thought it would be. I even went up a half size. It calls for a 4.5mm, but I wasn't hitting gauge perfectly, especially on my row gauge, so I went up to a 5mm and I hit it perfectly, but I feel like the fabric is a little bit dense. It's fine if I stretch it out, but it definitely kind of stands up. It doesn't have a lot of drape to it. But again, I'm going for more of a sweatshirt. In my mind, this is going to be kind of like a sweatshirt that I can just throw over the top of things, so I don't think it matters if it has a lot of drape, and I think the thickness of the fabric will be cozy and warm, so I don't think that's an issue, but I can tell it's hurting my hands a little bit. And again, I don't know if it's the yarn that I chose or if that's the point of the pattern, but the pattern calls for a yarn that's 218 yards per 100 grams, and Cascade 220 is 220 grams per 100 yards. So I'm right on there with yarn pretty much, and going up a needle size. So I don't know why it is so dense, but that's okay. And I also could just be knitting a lot more, which is making my hands a little bit more sore. But I just can't seem to stop myself. And I'm already excited about planning my next sweater project. Don't know what it will be yet, but I'm excited about thinking about what to do. So I want to knit this one maybe not as quickly as possible because I still am enjoying the process, but I'm not going to hold myself back either. Okay, that is all that I have for current projects. Just those two. I technically have my Esther sweater by Helene Moo still on the needles, but I'm taking a break from it because it is frustrating me. It's not a fun knit. Maybe I'll return back to it after the Courage Henley test knit is over. We shall see. I will probably not mention it until I work on it again. So that's the update with that. I do have a couple of acquisitions. The first is one of my pre-orders came from Long Dog Yarn. This is a sock yarn. So it's 85% extra fine superwash merino, 15% biodegradable nylon, 470 yards per 100 grams. And this colorway is Your Last Act on This Planet Will Be Surrendering to a Woman. I love that name. It's so pretty. I love these colors so much. Again, can't really wear it with my hair color. Don't think I'd make a sweater out of it. I don't know. Maybe I could pull it off. What do you think? Too late now because it was a pre-order and there's no more. But I think socks will be gorgeous with this. And now that I have my size for my sock pattern, I can knit these. So very excited about this. I have a lot of yarn coming in August because I pre-ordered some yarn months ago and it's all coming in August. So I ordered from Treehouse Knits her Stars Hollow collection, and according to her website she has her dye schedule and she updates it with what colorways she's dyeing, and 2 of the colorways that I ordered are the last ones to be dyed, and I am so excited to get that order. I kind of splurged on hers, so I'll definitely show you when I get it. It should be sometime this month. I usually don't get this much yarn on a regular basis, but it's really fun to show it off, and I love supporting indie dyers when I can. I'm a huge fan of variegated yarn. It's beautiful. I love knitting with it. I can't buy it all the time because it is expensive, but when I can, it's a good day. It's a good day when this comes in the mail. It's so pretty. So that's the yarn that I have for this week. My husband surprised me with a new project bag. I don't know if this, I think it's a project specific bag. I don't know. It's from Amazon. It is my bagsing, I think is how you say that. I left the tag on so I could show you. It's a lot bigger than I thought. Like, it could definitely hold a whole sock project, which I have in here, but I have to frog. So I was gonna make socks for my husband for Christmas, but then I was thinking about it, and he uses fingerless mittens a lot for shoveling snow and driving. And so I asked him if he would prefer socks or mittens for Christmas, and he said he would prefer mittens, fingerless mittens. I think I'm gonna make him the penny gloves by Petite Knit. If any of you have made those, do you think they would fit a man? Because my dad also wants fingerless gloves for Christmas, and so I need a good pattern, and I love the Petite Knit one, especially because I want to make some for myself. So I would rather just buy one pattern for all 3 of us. So anyways, I need to take that off and frog it. So anyways, I'll do that later so I don't bore you. But yeah, it's a very good project bag. Bigger than I thought. I like that it zips up. I should show you my other project bag. The one that I have my waffle cone socks in. The one that I always have a sock going for my knitting downstairs or outside when my boys are playing. And I have it in this darling bag from Granny's on the Go. I ordered from Etsy. I love it so much. This is my aesthetic. I love plants. I love the gold. It's a gorgeous bag. It's got a drawstring opening, and then inside it has these little pockets that I can put, you know, like other needles, and I've got, you know, scissors and needles and measuring tape. And then it has the big pocket for the socks. So I love this bag. But it's not very portable, like I wouldn't take it anywhere. Plus it's a white bottom, so I try to be careful about where I put it so it doesn't get super dirty. But I love having this one that it can zip close, so if I am going on a trip or somewhere that I need a little bit more protection for the yarn and the socks, that this bag would be perfect. It has a little loop so I can put it around my wrist. Love these zipper pockets as well. So it's a very good cheap bag if you are looking to get one. I will link it in my description. I want to do a quick reading and watching update. I have been reading the sequel to Assistant to the Villain. This is Apprentice to the Villain. Very, very fun book. It is a mix of The Office. I've only seen the US version. So The Office and Ella Enchanted. If you love both of those, look into this series. It's fantastic. I love it very much. I'm just laughing the whole way through. It has some romance in there between the villain and his assistant. It's just good fun. And I have still watching The Bachelorette, watched a little bit of Olympics, as I said, watched a lot of movies with my son. So there's that update. And I think that's all for today. So thank you so much for being here. Remember to subscribe if you are liking these updates. And I would love to hear from you in the comment section as well. So I have a little question of the day for you. I want to know your favorite knitted garment that you have made. Or if you don't have just one, give me an example of one that you love. I'm always looking to add more favorites to my Ravelry page, so I would love to know what you have loved knitting. Also, if you want to tell me what you're knitting right now, if you have any plans for this week, tell me all the things. And really, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I have already loved getting to know new people and just being able to watch a lot of knitted podcasts as well and get to know you guys and what other people are making. I feel so inspired every time I get on YouTube. So that is very fun. I hope you guys have a very good week, and I will talk to you later. Bye!